What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Team Big Plays. So today we're doing another Pendulum Deck Profile. However, this time we are going for a more pure build of Endymion. I think, obviously, a lot of you YouTubers are doing this lately. I don't mean to follow the bandwagon. But I think this is honestly one of the best builds for Pendulums, at least moving forward, because of its ability to rely more on the main deck instead of having to rely so heavily on the extra deck to pump out negates, so that way you always have more maneuverability, way more options when it comes to dealing with problems, and you can use your extra deck more as a toolbox with cards like Arcanite Magician and of course your normal Nightmare lineup. So yeah, if you like the video, like, subscribe, notification bell down below please, and all links that I bring up in the future will be down below, as well as maybe some other deck profiles that I think you could benefit from as far as Endymion and Pendulums in general. So yeah, let's get into the profile. We're going to start off with our Endymion engine, of course. So I run 3 copies of Servant. That doesn't really necessarily need to be explained, and 2 copies of Magister. So for those of you who don't really know how Endymions work, or it's something that you've seen and you just kind of want to learn how it functions, is Endymion is a spell counter deck, and the spell counters are things when a monster or a spell card or a trap card has an effect that says place spell counters on this card, or when you activate a spell, place X amount of spell counters on this card. You can use those kind of like XZ material to get rid of and activate effects. So that's kind of how these revolve. So this in the Pendulum Zone summons from deck. That's going to be how you kind of get out your Jackal King. So that's definitely your main starter. Magister can also, on your opponent's turn, summon out a negate from your deck or a disruption in the form of other Endymions, such as 2 Reflection, and 2 of the boss monster, Endymion the Mighty Master of Magic. This is negate, bounce any card with a spell counter from your field back to your hand, and Reflection, which you can also summon off of Magister. When it's special summon, bounce a card with a spell counter, and I want to say bounce or banish a card that your opponent controls. Also, Reflection kind of does the same thing as Servant when it's in the scale, except it summons from hand instead. I think that's really good. Not enough people honestly capitalize on it, especially when you think of the pure build, just how many cards you run that can carry spell counters, or cards you run that can get you to those cards in the process. I would bump this up to 3 though, as a recommendation, and then that way, you know, if you wanted to, you can always run 1 more lower. Plus it's scale 8, plus it's a free negate if you pendulum summon it. So that's it for our Endymion engine. And then for our Mythical Beast engine, I run 3 copies of Master Cerberus, 2 copies of Jackal King, and 1 Garuda. So Jackal King is a negate, obviously it gets you around Nibiru. You can summon that, or you can summon Endymion. And then 2, Master Cerberus, I think, is just a really good extender. And so the way that you combine it with Reflection, like most people don't run it, is if you draw 2 of these and you have Reflection, you can special summon 1 off of Reflection. So that's kind of the theory behind it as well, just in case you ever brick with 1. Even then, you know, you can always just activate it in scale for the 2nd time, have Electromite pop it, and then you have fodder there for that. Garuda is just way too good to pass up on. Its pendulum scale effect is an MST, and then its monster effect is when your opponent normal special summons a monster, move 3 spell counters from your field, special Garuda, bounce it. It's non-targeting, which is amazing, especially with the new FTK that's going around. And then 2, it gives you a monster, so you're getting more advantage off of that as well, especially for games, you know, 2. Then for our Guard Dragon engine, I run 2 Dark Worm, 1 Gate 0, 1 Persona, 1 Destrudo. So the reason why I only run 1 Persona and not a Persona and an Aether is because if it comes down to it, you don't need Persona, you can just summon Destrudo. So what you would do is summon Destrudo. If your opponent gets rid of it next turn, you can use Destrudo's effect in Grave, go into a Secret monster that I'll be showing you later. This one, Arcanite Magician, and once I read to you that effect, it pops so many cards, it is honestly unbelievable. You can clear out your opponent's entire field and then just go in and OTK. And then for our extenders, 3 chronograph and a time gazer. I think that's standard. Honestly, if you ran 3 allure and 3 desires, you could probably bump time gazer up to 2, just because it prevents pendulum scale destruction. Plus, it's like the freest extender ever. Pop a card in scale, chronograph effect goes off, you get 2 monsters anyways. It's chronograph. Curtain Raiser, that's another card that you could bump up to 3 if you want to. Free summon, kind of the same concept as chronograph. Then I only run 2 Abductor. 3 I think is a bit too much when you're already running Reflection, Servant, Magister. But it is nice to get that search off. Maybe bump it down to 1 if you'd so choose. I like 2. I think that's kind of where I'm comfortable at right now. So yeah, but that's it for our monster lineup. Now moving on to the spells. I run 1 copy of Spell Power Grasp and 3 copies of Spell Power Mastery. Now you probably know what Mastery does, which is, it searches your Endymion, gives you spell counter, but not a lot of people use Grasp. I think Grasp is really good, especially if you get these in tandem. And let's say you have like Servant or whatever. Activate this, search Servant, right? If you, for some reason, don't have enough cards to get spell counters on, search Servant, do this. That's 2 free spell counters. And you get another one for next turn to get 6 spell counters on the field. Or, yeah, 6 spell counters on the field, and you can use Endymion's effect in scale, which is honestly insane. I only have 1. I'm still kind of working on if I should run 2 or not, but honestly, it's been working out thus far. So it's something to consider. It's not something, obviously, everybody runs, but still. Then for your Guard Dragons, 1 Foolish Burial, 2 Dragon Shrine. These are just spells that rack up spell counters, plus the Guard Dragon engine is a free 2 negates and a disruption. So it's like, why not? Then I run 2 copies of Pot of Desires, 2 Allure of Darkness. I would consider bumping Allure of Darkness up to 3, especially, if you're running 3 Magister and 3 Curtain Raiser, just because then you have so many dark monsters in your deck, you just might as well. And then Pot of Desires, drawing 2 is clutch, I think, in literally every single Yu-Gi-Oh deck that has ever been invented. Unless you run, like, a bajillion ones, but. And then 3 copies of Called by the Grave. I think Called by the Grave is pretty standard. I've seen a lot more of it starting to run, especially in the pure Endymion build of Pendulums, because you want your plays to go through. You're not always going to, get to that Servant to a Jackal King, or even if you get to the Servant, it might get ashed, and, no Electra might. So you want it to go through. For me, I forget what deck profile it was, it might be down the link, but the dude says using Electromite is a luxury. To me, it's a right. It's the Pendulum Link monster, and I want to use it no matter what. It's too good not to. So 3 Called by the Grave, to me, is necessary. You don't have to, but, Plus, it's spell counters, and spell counters are amazing in this deck. So, onto our extra deck. I run, for our Link Force, 1 Avermax, 1 Borlo Dragon. Of course, you can always run Boral Sword over Avermax. I just like Avermax better most of the time, because there's only 1 problem card that I really have to deal with. The rest I can just either let Arcanite Magician handle, or I can just beat over. And then, Thunder Dragons come back around, so stock up on them Borloads. I run 1 Electromite, 1 land. So of course, if Electromite gets hit, then Frankus is always the good backup option. +2 with Rocket Link, it's still around. Don't discredit it at all. And of course, what they're gonna hit your Electromite, so land is always nice to have. Plus, going for turn 2, you always seem to kind of run into the problem of not having a Link monster with these arrows that's not one of these 2. Because, this costs stuff, and you have stuff on the board you want to keep, maybe not in your best interest to make one. So that's where land comes in. Then Nightmare Package, 1 Phoenix, 1 Unicorn. I think that's pretty standard. Get rid of Floodgates, get rid of actually anything. Then for Guard Dragon Engine, Triple Burst, Seal, Agripain, Elpie. I think that's standard. Then for your targets, Vortex. I think that belongs in actually any Pendulum deck. Even when the Guard Dragons go, you know somebody's going to bust out the Absolute Dragon just to get it out. And then what I like to run, which you'll see in pretty much all my Pendulum builds with Guard Dragons, is Crystal Wing for games 2 and 3. Because when they side against you for Pendulums, you don't... Sometimes you side Starving Venom, but you're going to side Dragostapelia so they can fuse off your Vortex. This makes it so that they're not making Venom and they're not making Dragostapelia. Plus, it's a beater. You can literally use it just to go game 2 and like do 3,000 damage, and it's a negate that racks up. It's just, it's a damage card. And then for Aziz, one Gaga Cowboy. You could also swap it out for Abyss Dweller. It's just like add one extra slot. I wanted time, like in case I went into time. And then for your synchros, one FA Dawn Dragster, pretty standard. Use Destrudo, go into this. And then one Arcanite Magician. So this is the card I was talking about. So it's a level 7 spellcaster synchro. One tuner, one non-tuner. If this card synchro summon, place 2 spell counters on it. So first of all, you're getting 2 spell counters on, which is useful for your Endymion cards in general. Gains 1,000 attack for each spell counter on it. So if you find a way to put more spell counters on, this thing can get big. So let's say you activate Spell Power Grasp, right? Put another spell counter on it. Spell counter, boom, 3,400 attack monster. Then 2, and this is the kicker. This is why I think this card is awesome. And if you're playing Endymion with Destrudo anywhere in it, you have to play this. Remove 1 spell counter from your field. Target 1 card your opponent controls. Yeah, your opponent controls. Sorry, destroy that target. Dude. Literally, first of all, in itself gets 2 pops. When you're playing Endymion, especially if you have Jackal King on the field, because that's the kicker. Jackal King gets so many spell counters amassed on it, it's actually insane, which is another reason to special summon it off of Servant. You can end up popping like 6 cards off of this. It's incredible. And then you don't even have to use its own spell counters, which I think is honestly just amazing, and one of the reasons why it's a staple in any Endymion deck that runs Guard Dragons or just Destrudo. Alright, and then for a side deck, we run 3 copies of Sphere Mode. I take Sphere Mode over Nibiru still, because 1, you don't necessarily need your normal summon to OTK. It's Pendulums, we Pendulum summon, it's what we do. And then 2, unlike Nibiru, raw Sphere Mode can't be negated unless, you know, they're running Master Restrict for some reason, but and it just gets rid of 3 monsters, plus then next turn you can bring it back, and you can always side deck if you wanted to the Winged Dragon Raw, which comes clutch if somebody Sphere Modes you back. But yeah, I take that over Nibiru, to be honest. 2 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. I've said it once before, and I will say it again and again and again until it sticks. Ghost Ogre is the best hand trap against Pendulums. So in your mirror match, you want this. The reason why, they activate Servant, you Ogre their Servant. They activate Electromite and they don't have Jackal King on field, you Ogre that and they're dead combo. And then, you know, you don't have to give them like that normal monster in Nibiru, which if they're running the Orcus version of it at all, they'll be able to use just to combo off. Plus, I feel like Ghost Ogre is just more practical in general around, and is less circumstantial. 3 Lancia, deck still banished. With Thunder Dragon coming back around, you want something to just stop them in their tracks. 1 Zafranu, 1 Divine Strike. So this is for games 2 and 3. The whole point is you can take out your Call by the Graves or your Spell Power Grasp, another reason to run it, and side in this, and you send Zafranu off of Electromite, Pendulum, summon it out to search Divine Strike. Because cards like Dark Ruler no more, it's an extra negate, so you know you might as well. Plus you normally have the side deck space for it because Pendulums can kind of deal with whatever. So yeah. And then for your trap cards, 3 Red Reboot. Trap decks and trap cards hurt. I don't like Solemn Judgment or Strike, so yeah. And then I run 2 MST. Just because Twin Twisters, you can still run it, but unless you're running 3 Dark Worm, you really don't want to have to discard anything in your deck because you want all the extenders. You don't need all the extenders, but you want them just in case. So MST it's a 1-for-1. You could also run Cosmic Cyclone just for banishing, because obviously in certain circumstances, banishment is your better option. Alright guys, so that's going to be it for our deck profile today. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, notification bell. We'll have all the links to everything down in the description, and hopefully some more deck profiles just to kind of help you out and get an idea of where you want to go with your deck. And yeah, that's going to be it. Peace.